Hello. Cool. Okay, what is up, YouTube and whoever else is watching? You know what time it is. It's time for JavaScript with Joe. I'm just going to check because if you joined last week, you might have noticed that I accidentally didn't stream. That's not because I didn't do the challenge. I did spend an hour doing the challenge, and it was probably the hardest one yet. But I didn't click go live, so there's a 20-second video of me realizing that I wasn't live. So that's not happening now because I'm sitting and waiting for the stream to update. So what are we doing? JavaScript with Joe, same as usual. If you are watching, let me know what level your JavaScript's at, and I can kind of try and tailor it for yourself. Oh, hello, Tamas. Today I'm going to be doing day 11 of Advent of Code. So if you haven't seen Advent of Code before, they do 25 programming challenges every December, and each of them tend to sort of, the second part of that challenge tends to punish you for cutting corners in the first part. They tend to follow sort of a googly Facebook programming style interview of like quite a hard interview question that has like a computational algorithmic answer that probably won't relate to anything you'll ever do in a real job, but we'll see. So I've linked that. My solution will be available here on REPL. This is just a website for very quickly spinning up environments to run various programming languages. So this is a Node one, so I can type JavaScript stuff over here and access those variables. Things like that. But you can do Python, C, whatever else you want to do. So I will be talking through, how I'm trying to solve it, but a lot of this will be me writing JavaScript. I'll aim to spend about half an hour on each half of the problem, and I won't go longer than an hour, so we'll definitely be done at 5, whether I pass the challenge or not. So let's get into it. Day 11, Dumbo Octopus. You enter a large cavern full of rare bioluminescent Dumbo octopuses. Oh, very nice. I guess it's called Dumbo because it's got little elephant ears. Anyway, they seem to not like the Christmas lights on your submarine, so you turn them off for now. There are 100 octopuses arranged neatly in a 10 by 10 grid. Each octopus slowly gains energy over time and flashes brightly for a moment when its energy is full. Although your lights are off, maybe you could navigate through the cave without disturbing the octopus if you could predict when the flashes of light will happen. Each octopus has an energy level, which your submarine can remotely measure, and the energy level can measure the energy level of each octopus. So I assume we have lots of grids maybe. Let's have a look. So each one of these puzzles will have a puzzle input that will be unique to your account. So you can't just copy my answer. So that's my puzzle input. Looks quite nice and small and simple for once. Here's an example one. So we'll probably start with the example one. The energy level of each octopus is a value between 0 and 9. Here, the top left octopus has an energy level of 5. The bottom right one has an energy level of 6, and so on. You can model the energy levels and flashes of light in steps. During a single step, the following occurs. First, the energy level of each octopus increases by 1. Then any octopus with an energy level greater than 9 flashes. This increases the energy level of all adjacent octopuses by 1, including octopuses that are diagonally adjacent. Great. It's always this. It's always traversing a 2D array. If this causes an octopus to have an energy level greater than 9, it also flashes. This continues as long as new octopuses keep having their energy level increase beyond 9. An octopus can only flash at most once per step. Finally, any octopus that flashed during this step has its energy level set to 0, as it used all of its energy to flash. Adjacent flashes can cause an octopus to flash on a step even if it begins that step with very little energy. Consider the middle octopus with 1 energy in this step. Cool, so we've got some good test cases. And I guess we don't have to be fixed to 10 by 10, so we could start with that test case. So I don't think that's a very handy test case. So I guess, don't really know how I'm going to represent these flashes as well. And what do I actually have to count the number of flashes, I'm guessing. After 100 steps, a total of flashes, given the starting energy levels of octopuses in your cavern, Simulate 100 steps. How many flashes are there after 100 steps? Okay. So to start with, let's define. I'm going to use this to read in our array. So there isn't really a nicer way to represent this other than probably a 2D array. So we could store, our grid something like this, and keep it simple maybe. A grid like this to start with, which will just be a 3x3 array of zeros, and store that in a variable. Let's call it grid. And so now that's something that we're going to be able to access in here anyway. So it doesn't really look like a nice grid, but we can write something that will iterate over it and print our grid out again, which is probably a good idea actually. Const print, is it a grid? Print grid, takes a grid, and then should we do grid dot for each row, and then so that will give us a row dot for each I guess octopus is the right way to call it. Octopus console.log octopus. So this will log each one's. It's not an octopus anyway, it's an octopus energy level, but this should be okay. So that should just log out 9 zeros when we do call it. That's not JavaScript. So if I call print grid, that runner is the order wrong way around. Doesn't exist yet. Oh. Okay, so we've got our 9 zeros. It doesn't really look like our grid. So if there's a way I could log out without doing a new line, So I'll use this. And then after each row, so that should print them all on one line now. Oh. No. Huh. Oh, I guess I can build up a row. Let line equal empty string. And I'll do line plus equals the octopus console.log line. There we go. So we've got our grid again, just to make sure that the structure is the same. Let's do this. We could do 1, 2, 3. Relatively simple grid. There we go. Cool. So we've sort of maintained our top left to bottom right. Next, I need something that will step. Step is going to be a problem because they're all in their own unit actually. So I'm just thinking when this steps, it's going to go 2, 3, 4, and well, maybe I'll copy this for a second. So I'm expecting if we call some step function on that, we should get 2, 3, 4. Why does it do that? 1, 1, 1. And for now, let's just let 9 go up to 10. So that's going to look like that after one step. So we can do a step function as well. Var step equals grid, and that's going to return the whole grid incremented by 1. So I could use a map function. I'm not sure how I sort of do this in place. So I could go like grid dot for each row can map to row map octopus plus plus. Will that work? And so I can return that. Will that work? I'm not sure if that'll overwrite as I'm expecting it to. But if I do new grid equals step grid and then print grid new grid. No, octopus is not defined. Did I spell octopus differently? I did. Hello, friendly octopus. That's a very convenient name considering the challenge. Cannot read for each of undefined. So I'm guessing that is this for each? No, line 5. This is the for each that's a problem. So when I give it its new grid, this isn't a grid anymore, I'm guessing. Let's log that out and see what that looks like. Undefined, okay. So the rows are overridden. So if I just log grid before and after that, are they overwritten in place perhaps? So let's not do a return. Huh. So it seems to have iterated. Oh, it's okay. Hello again, friendly octopus. Oh wait, no, friendly octopus is saying a nice thing to Thomas. Okay. Right, I've accidentally filled each row in this grid, and there's 4 of them now as well. Have I just printed it out multiple times? Am I calling step multiple times? Oh no, I'm printing the grid 4 times. That's why it's doing it. So print grid shouldn't do. Oh, I shouldn't be logging the grid. I should be printing the grid. So let's step the grid. There we go. Okay. That's too much for me to read properly. So the step isn't updating it in place, which is fine. And this is returning an empty array. For each row, map the row where each item is incremented. It seems good to me. Do I need to like store this in itself or something? No. Cannot read for each of undefined again. 5. Because I keep printing the grid. Right. So let's just put in here just the number 2 just to see if it's actually updating the grid. No. Can't print the grid. That's not updating the grid in place. So it's sort of updating these rows here, but not updating them in the above. I need to map over them twice. Is that different from what I've got? An array. I've got an array. Or should I be doing it the other way? I'll be mapping over the row and then for eaching the octopus. No. I need to overwrite it. Array.map. Octopus is not defined. Oh, yes. So I don't think returning in here is going to do anything. Because the for each isn't going to put it anywhere. Let's have a look at this one. So map over one. Why would I do rows 0 though? Wouldn't I just do grid map row index return rows map column? That do it? And then does that need to happen? I think that happens in place, so the whole grid itself should update. No. Rows. I'm not even using row at all. Should that not be row? Ooh. Okay. That's better. Right, so this isn't a real thing. So what should that be? Wow. I think I know who the friendly octopus is now then. Grid map for each row. So that should be something like this. 1, 2, 3 with the indexes 0, 1, 2. Return the new row with the column being each number, so that column should be 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. And then return column 1, 2, 3 plus 1. But that's the number in the column. So I shouldn't even, do I even need the index there? Bam. Okay. No idea how that worked. I guess I was using, I guess maps actually return an object, whereas for eaches don't. So every time I was using a return in a for each, it wasn't going anywhere. And then I could probably tidy this up a bit actually. That can all go on, because there's an implicit return. I can just squeeze that in there. And that, then I don't need the index either. Seems weird. So that is our step successfully incremented now. I don't need this array. Probably could do with reading in the grid from somewhere else. But we're now successfully stepping. So let's see if I can read this grid in from my file. So I've already got a bit of a structure in this. 000, 009. So I've already got a bit of a structure in here that you can use to read things in quite easily. So I've got that up here already. So that input should be our grid. So I should just be able to do that. Ooh. For each is not a function. Line 8. Let's log out the input and just have a look at it. I guess I can just type that here actually. Oh, can't I? So I need to split that again. Input equals input.map line equals line.split. It doesn't line arrow line.split. So that should split that up into the shape I'm expecting. There we go. Oh, they're all strings. Parse int. Right, that's only one line. Didn't I just have all the lines? Without that line, I had all three, right? Yeah. Input equals input.map for each line. Why did it give me? Did it give me 1, 2, 3 now? Yeah. What on earth? Oh yeah, it was my parsing that didn't work. So that needs that. Then they're all strings, and then I need to. Can I pass in on the same line? That would be my problem. I was passing int and mapping over them, just getting the first one, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Well, I should probably map over them here as well. So split anything, convert to numbers. Input equals input.map row to row.map col pass int col. Yay, okay, that's all I needed. How do I make it octopus friendly? Octopi friendly? Stop referring to them as octopus, I suppose. But these are individual octopus. Maybe I could be nicer to the octopus while I'm doing it. Right, let's check if this step grid works. Oh, because it's not grid, it's input. I can just call this. I'll just call this grid here and here. And then I don't need this line anymore. Do our steps. And now I should have one step happening. Oh. Am I stepping somewhere else? Where did this? So there's our first grid. Oh, it's backwards. Right, so it's got flipped upside down somewhere. It's probably one of these. Let's see what happened to grid. Oh. What's going on with this? Grid was correct then. Was it correct when I passed it? That's still correct. So does print grid still work on our new grid? Grid does. So I should be able to step over the grid. And in there I'm printing the grid twice. Maybe it wasn't upside down. Huh? For each undefined, so print grid isn't liking my new grid. Oh, no wait, that's fine. So my step grid isn't doing what I think it's doing anymore. Grid, step grid, nothing. Because I don't return anything. How did that work in the first place? Did I return, need a return here? Grid, step, grid. Okay. I don't know what I did there. Let's put a little grid line in as well. Okay, so we probably want to print every time we do a step. Probably need a step counter or something as well. Grid. And are we starting on a first step before steps? Yeah, so print step 0. Let step equal 1. And then while step is less than 3, step less than 3, let's do this, print these, increment our steps. Does that run forever? Step equal 1. Step has been declared. Oh, the function, yeah. Step number, I guess. Cool. So now we can limit how many steps we've got. We should probably also pass the step number in here so we can print out good things. So let's do step number, and then we can call it step. We can use string templates to write this in line as well. So we do step, and use this $sign thing so we can write JavaScript inside here now. So we could do our maths inside there. Step undefined, then it's not surprising. So there shouldn't be a step at the start. So when we call it here, we need to say, I guess we can just pass a 0. Or we could set it to 0 here, but that's okay. Right, so now we have an incrementing, it should be incrementing the grid every time as well. So you can see here it's only done it once. So it's starting again with the original grid every time. So let's call it next. Let's say next grid equals step next grid. And then out here we can say next grid equals grid. let next grid equal grid. There we go. So now we can do it and they'll just go to really big numbers, which is kind of useless, but they are still in an array at least, so we can keep them separate. Right. Then we need explosions, right? Show for each. Do I want to do, maybe I'll deal with flashes first, just deprecating them back to 9, so step logic. So for now, we've just been incrementing them all, but actually we want to do a few different things here. So if, stop calling out column, oct, so we say if oct equals 9, then we're going to set it to 0. Oops. Just writing some Python. Right, if it's equal to 9, then we're going to return 0. Otherwise, we're going to increment it. Return oct plus 1. And now it should just be able to, yeah, so you can see our 9 has become a 0 again. There should have been a flash there, so those two, well, these three should be 2. But for now, that's okay. So we could probably replicate the first few steps of this input, for example, because there's no flashes until step 2. So we'd probably get the first step of this correct, hopefully. So let's cancel that, clear that. So if we look at this, 659425, 659425. So I think our first step there is probably correct. Ends in 637. Yeah, it looks okay. Now the next issue is we've got all these flashes. So we can see here, how are we going to flash around something? Probably need, again, like a flash function. Okay, var flash, that's going to take a row and a column, and it's going to have to return, probably return, is it going to return a new grid? What's annoying is that after you do all this, you'll have to iterate over it again to check for the new flashes too. You'll have to keep doing that until the flashes stop happening. But we're going to need this flash function anyway. New grid. We could get the positions of all the flashes and make like one new 2D array and add everything over that instead of iterating over it every time. And how am I going to access like all, like there's 8 positions around each one? Yeah, it's weird. I guess we do like, because what I'm thinking is we have to like check every single one exists, right? So we're going like if row, I don't know, like I have to check if row plus, I guess it's all the edges that I'm concerned about really. So if there's like a if on the right, and that will be when column if col equals row 0 dot length, right? That's when we're all the way on the right hand side of the grid. Then we're not going to don't do anything. Oh. To the right of this. No, this is going to be a mess. if col equals 0, don't do anything to the left. Let's just do left and rights for now. So this is probably our easiest one. So in here we need to say, and we need the grid as well. Grid. So we need to say grid, row, col. If we can't do anything to the left of it, we have to do everything to the right of it. Should be, it's more complicated than this though, because we're going to have all our edges. So to the right of it, and above it, and below it. There's got to be a better way than doing this. So I think that'll work. We should probably try doing a flash. So if it's 9, we're going to do a flash. So that's going to happen in here. Flash, grid, row. Then update it here. Col. So that will trigger the flash. Maybe in here, let's write. So we've got log flashing on. Let's do some more string templating as well. Row, oops, row, and col, and so we should only see, col is not defined because it's an octopus. Well, that's getting confusing now. Let's go back to calling them columns. Okay, so that kind of makes sense. Then I want to do console.log new grid, and then print grid. So this is getting big and messy actually. Maybe we should go for a smaller, back to our smaller array. 0, 0, 0, 0, 9, 0, 0, 0, 0. So this way it should flash on its second step, and we can start testing all this logic. So let's keep it to step 2. Oh no, it incremented everything. So if the flash worked, it should be, right, the new grid isn't going anywhere, because these should all be 2 at the moment. And from the logic we've written, 5 of them should be 2 at the moment. I didn't do anything to them, I just accessed them. Equals +1. I just need to do that for all of them. Equals this +1 equals this +1 equals this +1. So now we should have some 2s or it'll break. Oh, or I didn't do anything. I didn't update the grid. So how am I going to update the grid inside Flash? So this should be returning a new grid, but I'm also returning the new grid there. So maybe I should be storing the positions of my flashes. So I could do like let flash locations equal empty array, and then instead of flashing to that, I'll do flash locations equals, oh, I can just do flash locations dot push, and I'll push in there another array of row cols. And then at the end of all this, then I'll do my flashes. So flash time. And this way, this will give me a place where I can iterate over it until the flashes are done. And sort of separate out some of this flash logic from the charging logic that's happening. Let's just console.log the flash locations here. Oh. Nothing. There should be one flash location. Because it's returning here, that's why. New grid equal this. And then down here I'll return new grid. There's our flash locations. Oh no, that doesn't look right. Flash locations push. It should be pushing. What the heck? So it should only be finding one flash location. It should be pushing one array of 0, 9 in there. There is it. Why is there an undefined step happening as well? Where am I calling step? Step number is 1. Yeah, there shouldn't be an undefined step happening. Okay, so that's the only place the step is happening. Next grid equals the original grid. Step is 1. Step number equals 1. Print grid. Where is this print grid? I'm calling the print grid, that's why. In there. I shouldn't be printing the grid there. Okay. I shouldn't be, I'm not going to log the new grid there just yet. Right. Okay, it's pushed the row and it shouldn't have done, that's why. But I told it to push the row. It should be pushing the what am I doing here? Yeah. I need the index of the row again, so I do need this index up here. Is that all? 0, 9? 1, 9. 1, 9, yes, cool. Okay, so now I should be able to iterate over those flashes. So flash locations dot for each. Then I'm doing flash grid flash locations. Can I just spread this? Oh no, hang on. Location flash grid. Can I just spread my locations here? Right, so that's looking better. I'm not doing anything here with the output of each flash. And in fact, I need to store the grid in between each. No, I don't. Do I? Might work for one flash. I definitely need to return something from the flash. So flash grid. So this should be returning a grid, which it doesn't. Return grid. And then this should be a new grid. New grid equals this, but I've already got a new grid. It might be okay. Ooh, cannot read for each of undefined, line 12. So my print grid is complaining now on step 1. Why is it logging another step 1 up there as well? Probably because I've probably broken the array in this. Where is it? I imagine I've broken the array in this if loop. So let's console.log grid there. Well, the 9 isn't in the 0 column, so it shouldn't be doing anything. So somewhere I'm breaking line 74. So this print grid is breaking somewhere. So my next grid probably isn't being updated in step, which has got to be related to this for each flash location, because I shouldn't be. No, see, I need new grid needs to be set to whatever this function returns. So I need to do that. Then in there I need to do new grid equals this instead of that. Oh, yeah. Right. Now, it's not going to work because of 9. I guess if it's not, my first case is that it's not on any edge, then I should flash everything. So we don't even need this case. There should be a, let me say if. No, it'll be the else of this, right? There probably should have like a row of things. So that will contain all of these plus a few more for the left, to the left of this. So these should be my, oh, have I got this backwards as well? Because it should be rows. So this isn't even to the left. This is don't do anything to not do anything to the left. I shouldn't be doing any of these -1 ones. So that's wrong anyway. So all I've not done here is the rows below. So I should just do these exact 3, but with minuses, hopefully. Oh no, where did that go? Okay, do minuses then. So it should go into the else now. And cannot read property 9 of undefined, line 64. I'm still using the rows again instead of their indexes. Am I flashing? No, I've got it. So it's flashing on the correct row, which looks good. Cannot read property 9 of undefined. Property 9 of undefined. Because it shouldn't be the, I guess it's putting 9 in the column when it should be the index again. It's the same issue. This should not be the column index. This should be the, I call it an ind y. And then my flash is still getting my row when it should be getting the index. Was that all I needed? Yes. Oh, this didn't look good there. Right. Well, I'm not sure if that... It must need the index as well there. So this should be... Oh, I shouldn't even be flashing in here as well. We'd stop doing that. Ah! Okay. Oh, we've only got like 8 minutes left. Right. So that worked. So I should just be able to keep doing that until I flash something that isn't the central square. Which, yeah. So now we've got flashes elsewhere. We're hitting all these problems, and that's why I need these if statements. So this one isn't actually don't do anything to the left. This is don't do anything. If column is 0, then we are in the very left hand. So the condition is correct, but this should not be doing anything to -1 of the column. So this is actually if row is equal to 0. No, that would be the bottom row. If row is equal to grid.length, then that should run, but it'll still crash because I've not dealt with all the other cases. So that should mean that I can run again on a low number, but if the input, if the 9 is up here, that should work now. Oops. Oh. Cannot set property 1. So it's flashing on the first row, second column. It's checking all the numbers. So row is equal to 0, which shouldn't be equal to that. So have I done it wrong again? Because row plus 1 will be going down, so it should be 0. There we go. So if our flash was at 9, looks like it's working. So really before this I need to start running loads of else ifs, and we've got 5 minutes left. Else if. Feels like this should be sort of a matrix multiplication way of doing something like this. Right, else if row equals grid.length. That should be for the other edges. So that should be don't do anything above, don't do anything below, which should mean no plus rows. Or have I got those backwards as well? It's the inverse because we're starting on row 0. So now I should be able to do ups and downs at the same time, like this. Ugh. Can I read 1? Looks like it worked for the top one. Because it's not, oh, could it be both of them? No. So it shouldn't do this, it should go into the next one and only put things in the row. Maybe the grid length is wrong. Grid definitely shouldn't be undefined. If it's updating incorrectly, I could see that happening. Because this is the first time we've had one with two 9s, so maybe we should simplify that a bit. Do that. Oh, okay. So again, something's gone a bit wrong. So if the row is 0, so if we're in the first row, then we have to go to the second row, which is row plus 1, and get the ones to the right and left. If we're in the last row, which is what I think this is, which might be wrong, then we do all the rows above it, -1, and all the ones in the same row. So I'm guessing grid length isn't what I think it is at this point. Oh. Can I read prop? Type error. It doesn't seem to even go into there. Maybe if we bring that up a little bit more. Grid length is 3. So there's 3 in the length, but it would actually be 2, so it should be grid length -1. Okay. I guess let's log row while we're in here as well, just to check it is 2. Grid length is 3, row is 2, so if row is equal to 2, then it's erroring on what line? 66. So erroring on this line, because I updated the left hand side. Oops, updated this, but I never updated these. There we go. Cool. Well, that's a heckin' mess. I didn't even get the first part done. Does it flash okay? So if it's blank, they all increment, which causes the flash for the 9, which causes the explosion around these ones, and then they all increment again. So it's kind of working, but it won't work if there's ever a 9 on the right-hand side or the left-hand side at the moment. Let's try it with this. It should make it at least a step. Oh, did it make it to this? It's already flashing stuff. It should be just doing. Did I set it to 3 again? The first step should work fine. Yeah, so the flashes will have problems with this one, this one, this one, which is probably what all those nans were on the next step. We're getting there. Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. I mean, these if statements are a bit of a nightmare. I'm sure there's a better way of doing that because I can't just write the if statements for everything. And also you can have cases like the corners where you're both on the edge and something else, so you'll have to do 2 of them. So that's not great stuff. But I'll leave it there. That's been an hour of JavaScript with Joe. I hope it successfully streamed to YouTube this time. And thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.